the sun comes up on a Sunday morning. Life goes on. Nebraska loses another Big Ten opener. This is the Husker Doc Talk podcast. Good to have you along here. If you're here for the first time, make sure to hit that subscribe button on the Doc Talk YouTube channel. Like this video. Start leaving your comments in the comments section, whether you agree with us, whether you don't agree with us, or whatever. Good morning, Dr. Rob. How you doing there, buddy?
I'm doing well. Sun came up. I mean, it's looking outside. It's a little cloudy out, but I mean, technically it came up. So
yeah, and the production's a little different today because you know our production manager, our creative genius, the guy who makes everything work flawlessly, Owen, is in San Diego right now. He decided to get on a plane yesterday and go to San Diego and spend the week. I can't say that I actually blame him for that.
Well, his girlfriend's family, they're saying, is that what they went out there to see her family, correct?
Yeah, so what he's doing is he's going to San Diego for like 4, maybe 5 days, and then he has to go to Dallas. He's in a wedding in Dallas. So they're going to be in San Diego, then they're going to be in Texas, then they get back here next Sunday. So it's a nice little, and he's earned the getaway. He's been working hard at work, and then of course he's been working hard in our new studio, which we debuted last week. We got a lot of good comments on the studio. And Dr. Rob, I got to be honest with you. We got the beer fridge now, right? Well, we had a lot of family members here over the weekend. The beer fridge got raided. So
nice.
Yes. Now Zipline reached out yesterday, and I got to get back to the guys. Zipline wants to stock our beer fridge a little bit, so we'll be having some Zipline beer in there very soon. But again, we take beer shipments is what we do.
Well, did you see McHugh's reached out?
No, I didn't see that
on Twitter. I thought you might have seen that. So yeah, McHugh's Tavern in Kearney reached out. So I think next time one of the McHugh's guys is in the Omaha area, we might be getting some crowlers.
Nice.
So which they do. Yeah, which they do. It's all. Which, by the way, if you're in the Kearney area, stop by McHugh's. It's a bar. It's not a craft brewery. It's a bar, but they serve only Nebraska craft breweries. So all their beers, everything on tap. It's all, it's everything from Zipline to Pals to all your Omaha craft beers. I mean, it's kind of nice because they get a lot of the stuff out in the western half of the state that you just don't see in Omaha as much either. So it's kind of a cool place to stop by. So if you want to try a kind of a big old sampling of different craft beers from Nebraska, stop by McHugh's. Good place. McHugh's did not pay for that endorsement. That is they did, which as far as I know, Zipline hasn't either. But if we get free beer from them, it's great because Zipline always does an outstanding job and drank a lot of their IPAs. They got kind of an increasing line of IPAs now, which is kind of fun to see. Kind of their Copper Alt's always been sort of a staple in I call it my garage fridge rotation. So they do an outstanding job, and it's consistently good. That's the nice thing about Zipline is they put out a really consistent product. So if there's kind of one of their beers you like, it's going to always be really good.
All right, so let me ask you, how many of those beers did you go through yesterday? Because it was an interesting game between Michigan and Nebraska, and you look at the stats, but you got to throw out the stats. There's stats on both sides that you sit there and they're mind-boggling.
There's some head scratchers.
But Rob, Nebraska was dominated yesterday, right? Even though the score may not look at it and some stats, they were physically dominated yesterday.
And that was the thing that worried me about this game. And that's why I'm not trying to play the whole, well, I told you so. This was a game I had picked as a loss for Nebraska. And as close as the game was, and I mean, you could even make, I hate the coulda, woulda, shoulda argument. Nebraska should have had 10 points in the first quarter. They just got stonewalled down there on the goal line by Michigan's defense. That should have been punched in. That should have been they should have had. I'm not saying the play should have been a touchdown or it should have been a first down. They should have punched it in. You've got 3rd and short, 4th and short. That's something on Nebraska's offensive line. You got to tighten up that belt get low, drive in there, push that in, get it going. They didn't do it. They just got physically stonewalled there by Michigan's defense. That's disappointing. But then you get the short field on the next series, miss a field goal. I mean, it's should have had 10 points there. Just it should have been. And I mean, that would have been a game changer in a game like this. Now, that also maybe, I mean, you swing those points, maybe it changes some decisions Michigan makes in the second half, and they're able to maybe capitalize on a few things and still pull out the win. But it does change the game. But I mean, that hurts. I mean, some of the other stats you look at, first downs 23-16. Both teams were atrocious in third down conversion. Michigan was 4 of 12. Nebraska was worse. They were 2 of 13. Nebraska was 2 out of 3 on fourth down attempts. It's just the one that really, really mattered, which was down in the goal line on that first drive, they didn't get. I don't have a problem with going for it on fourth down. I think it was the right call. If I was the coach, I probably would have done the same thing. Let's try and make a statement here. And if you don't get it, you pin them deep and get a short field again, which they did. So I don't have a problem with going for it on fourth down there. I have a problem with them not making it. The thing that's disappointing is you look at the rushing yards, which, I mean, that got skewed a lot by the sacks. I mean, Nebraska gave up, 7 sacks. I mean, that was just...
And that's kind of what I wanted to dive in early on. I mean,
that was brutal.
7 sacks. You and I were texting a little bit yesterday, and when I just said, dude, the O-line. I mean, and we'll get into Dylan Raiola a little bit later on, because I was taking some heat from a couple of friends yesterday. And
Dylan managed to prevent a couple more sacks.
Yeah. So let's dive into the offensive line, because that's your specialty. Just atrocious pass protection. You got to protect your quarterback. If you have a commodity like that, it's not going to come together unless you can protect him. I mean, they're going to be pass first. I know everybody wants to run, but he's a passing quarterback. If you can't protect him in big games against elite teams, it's going to be a long season. You're going to be an average team. You're not going to be a great team.
Yeah, and I mean, so there's kind of two parts here to this one on the O-line. I mean, you got the run game, you got the pass game. On the pass game, Wink Martindale's a really, really good D coordinator. I was a little disappointed when the Giants let him go a couple of years ago, because I thought he was a year ago rather. I really thought he was an outstanding defensive coordinator. The guy's very creative with the blitz packages. The blitz packages got home. The thing that was more disappointing was just the straight up one-on-one pass protection that we saw from the tackles. I mean, that was tough to watch. And it's not, let me be clear about this. This was not Michigan from, what would have that been, 4 years ago?
2 years ago.
Well, 2021.
I thought you were talking about the Michigan team that won the national title, but you're talking about the Nebraska game from 2021.
Yeah, go back to the red out night game from 2021, where you had Aiden Hutchinson on that defensive line for Michigan. That was Nebraska. Teddy Prohaska was a true freshman in that game. He performed great against Aiden Hutchinson. I mean, this is not just an NFL guy that we're talking about in Hutchinson. We're talking about a Pro Bowler, and he beat him. I mean, Teddy Prohaska won that battle up until the play when he tore his ACL. He handled Hutchinson that entire game. This was not a couple of Aiden Hutchinsons that we saw yesterday. Now, there were some really solid that was a solid D-line. Those are really good defensive ends. But Teddy, I hate to say it, Teddy was getting beat. He has lost a step from when he was a freshman prior to those injuries. And I hate to say that, but it showed in this game. Now, I think Teddy's done a solid job up to this point. It's just that was Cincinnati, that was Akron, that was Houston Christian. when you put a good Big Ten team across from these guys, there's going to be a difference than what we saw in those first 3 games. And that got exposed. We got exposed at both tackle spots. Gatula had a lot of trouble over on the left side as well, handling that defensive end, that edge guy from Michigan. It wasn't the blitzes that were really concerning. I mean, occasionally some team's going to bring a blitz package at you, and those blitzes are going to be hard to pick up. You're going to have, if you're a defense and you're rushing 5-on-5, 6-on-5, you're going to get to the quarterback, and I understand that. The problem is where guys are losing one-on-one battles at the edge, and that's what we saw yesterday. Is we saw offensive tackles losing one-on-one battles at the edge, and that showed up in that stat column where you're looking at the sacks.
Rob, you mentioned the sack yardage affected the rushing a little bit. And Nebraska ended up with 43 yards in the ground. They lost 49 through sacks. They still would have failed to get to 100 yards. I'm a little. I mean, there's things I'm disappointed at in the run game. When they needed short yardage, obviously had trouble getting that on a number of times, especially there early in the first half when they were down on the goal line. That is a halfway decent D line. I mean, I say halfway decent. That's actually a really good D line that Michigan has. Is it an all-world D line? No, it's not. I mean, it's a solid Big Ten defensive line. It gave us a lot of trouble. I mean, there's a reason we didn't rush the ball for. I mean, like I said, they got basically 90 yards on the ground. Lost a bunch in sacks, but I'm kind of throwing out the sack yardage here when I talk about the run game. So it's hard to look at that and say, well, we rushed. I mean, we rushed the ball the same number of times as Michigan. Both teams had 31 rush attempts. If you count the sacks, Nebraska averaged 1.4 yards per rush. If you take the sacks out, they averaged basically about 3 yards per rush, which it's far from great. I mean, it's not very good at all. In a close game, that can get the job done if Raiola's doing what he needs to do in the passing game. And it almost got it done yesterday. So I appreciate the fact that they really did stick with the run game the whole game. They didn't ditch it and try and go do something else. I mean, they basically said, hey, we're going to only get 2, 3, 4 yards a crack here. We're going to stick with it. We got to try and keep Michigan honest. We got to try and keep that blitz package honest. We can't have them just come up and basically pin their ears back on the D line and come racing after Raiola every play. We got to force these guys to pay a little bit of attention to the run. And it did help. So I appreciate that from a coaching standpoint, from a play calling standpoint. It was something that Nebraska had to do. But we had trouble, I mean, in terms of the interior defensive line moving guys. We had trouble getting off those down blocks up front, those first-level blocks against the defensive linemen, and we had trouble getting up on the linebackers. Michigan's linebackers kicked ass yesterday. They really did. It's a little painful because you're watching Ernest Hausman out there who played high school football in Columbus, Nebraska, spent 1 year in Lincoln basically as an alternate starter, part-time starter, and I thought looked really, really good. And I thought he was a guy who's going to end up being an NFL guy. I still feel that way. I think he's smart, and I think he's blazing fast. He's not the tallest guy. He's not the biggest guy. But he's smart, and he's got insane speed. And it showed. I mean, he led Michigan in tackles. But that was tough to watch on a lot of those run plays where it was hard for our offensive line and the interior guys especially to get off that initial block on the D lineman and get those second level blocks against the linebackers and safeties. Their linebackers and safeties basically had a free run every day at the running backs. You know, I spent a lot of time yesterday defending Dylan Raiola. And hear me out. After he threw the first pick, I got a text from our good buddy Scott Spreitzer, who, by the way, Scott Spreitzer, if you know Scott, he's been on the show many times. We do Behind the Point Spread. We did something on Wednesday for this game. And he's like, you know what? I'm a little disappointed. He thought that Matt Rule should have benched Dylan Raiola for one series. Matt Rule's not going to bench Dylan Raiola unless he's hurt. Okay, let's just get that. But he's like, just one series. Then after the game, I was getting texts from my buddy Ross Peterson, and we go back and forth. Of course, I host a show every day with Ross, and he's a huge Hawkeye fan. But, he's throwing up stuff like, Dylan Raiola, best quarterback I've seen since Dylan Martinez or Adrian Martinez. And I'm like, well, hold on for a second. I go, yesterday was not Raiola's fault by any means. I mean, his stat line was incredible. When you get sacked 7 times and your defense is basically a sieve for the running game, that doesn't fall on the quarterback. But it shows you public perception, Rob, how the quarterback takes the brunt of everything, right? When Michigan lost to Oklahoma, Bryce Underwood was like, oh, maybe he's not as good as advertised. If Nebraska wins that game yesterday, Dylan Raiola, he's the savior.
He's the hero. He's the star.
He's the hero. You lose the game, it all falls on the quarterback, and I don't think that's fair. So I was defending Dylan Raiola almost all day yesterday.
Yeah, it would have been interesting because I'd be the first to tell you. I mean, in terms of what Spreitzer said, there was a little part of me going, and this is the fan. This is not the analytical viewpoint at all, but just a pure fan standpoint. I'm sitting there going, I wonder how TJ Lateef would do against this defense, because you're looking at a situation where you've got guys getting in the backfield. What would a true running quarterback, how would he look against this? Like either of the Martinez, Adrian or Taylor. I mean, it's like, how would either of those two guys look against this Michigan defense where you got guys coming into the backfield? There's some openings there to take off and run. And Raiola's not a runner. He's not the slowest guy on the planet. The guy can run, but he's not the guy who's going to put a juke move on somebody and take off for a 28-yard gain against a good defense. It's just not going to happen. That's just not his thing. And he doesn't have those kind of moves, that kind of breakaway speed. TJ Lateef, I think, does. Now, there's a huge experience thing here where I think it's really, really easy to look at a guy like Lateef and go, well, yeah, let's put him in there. Well, okay, when we've watched him play and watched him look really good, that's against Houston Christian's defense.
Yep.
That's against Akron's defense. That is not a solid Big Ten defense. And this was a really solid Big Ten defense. They've got some really, really good football players on that defense. And so from a decision-making standpoint, I think putting TJ Lateef in would have been the wrong move. And at the same time, too, I just think trying to put a kid like that in against this defense, I think that athleticism that we saw against Akron, that athleticism Lateef showed against Houston Christian, completely gets nullified when you're throwing an Ernest Hausman at you who can run a 4.40, and he's a 225-pound linebacker. That's going to negate that athleticism that we saw, that TJ Lateef showed in those last two games. It's like I said, it would have been kind of interesting. As a fan, I think it would have been interesting to see it. I think the right answer was to keep Raiola in. I mean, I'd love to have that interception back. But at the same time, that wasn't the problem. I mean, the problem was Nebraska's offensive line the entire game. It was Nebraska's defense. I actually, going back and thinking about it, Nebraska's defense did a little bit. They did better than what I thought, because what I thought was going to happen is I thought Michigan was going to put together these long, drawn out, time-killing drives. What I thought was going to happen in this game was that they were going to just chew clock. They were going to grind it out on the ground. It was going to be 4.5, 5, 6 yards a carry, which, well, I mean, they had averaged 7 a carry. But I thought it was going to be these long 12-play drives where they would shred the clock, punch in a touchdown, and the time of possession would be Michigan 40, Nebraska 20, and that's what we were going to see. Instead, what we saw was Michigan putting together these big, huge, long scoring plays where you've got, who was it? Haynes busting off for like a 75-yarder, Underwood on a design quarterback keeper busting right up the middle for, I think it was a 37-yarder maybe.
Yep.
And then, I'm blanking on their other running back. The other, he punched out another long touchdown.
Jordan Marshall.
Run. Thank you. Marshall had which I think he only had like 80 yards rushing, but I think 30 to 40 of it came on that one touchdown run. So you got 3 long touchdown runs is where Michigan did most of their damage. But those guys were basically untouched on those 3 plays. That was kind of tough. I mean, the big 75-yard run that Haynes had, that he got hit 2 or 3 times and just shook off the tacklers. So, I mean, we've got to do a better job of tackling. The initial holes were there. The upfront blocking from Michigan on those big touchdown runs was there. I mean, their O-line did what they had to do when it mattered. I was maybe a little surprised that we didn't see Michigan's run game kind of more play-to-play consistency. I thought, like I said, it was going to be they were going to get 5-6 yards a pop all day long on the ground. Underwood wasn't going to have to win the game for him, which, I mean, he did, but I still thought he did plenty of damage when called upon. But, yeah, I thought this was going to be a grinded-out, old-school Big Ten, Woody Hayes, 3 yards in a cloud of dust thing where they would just chew up clock the whole thing. And I was a little surprised we saw it. It was basically 3 big touchdown runs is where the vast majority of the damage came from.
Let me ask you a question. And we'll get back to the quarterbacks in a second, but I was just thinking of this as you were talking. Are these teams as close as 30-27? Because you mentioned, Nebraska could have 10 points in the first quarter. I could make the argument that, Nebraska got lucky right before halftime. That's a 1 in a million, maybe not in a 1 in a million, but a Hail Mary.
It was a great throw, by the way. I mean, he put it right where it needed to be, and
yes.
Barney got in position right where he needed to be. You always have to have a guy work up to the front of that crowd to try and either tip it or catch it.
But I think this is what people want to know. And then let's use the last drive where Nebraska scored to make it a 3-point game. There's a lot of desperation there, right? I mean, you're like, okay, we got to make something happen. There's just some desperation there, and things just kind of kick in. As you watched both teams, are they as close as 30-27?
No. You mentioned earlier that you used the phrase. I think you said it was a physical beatdown. It physically, Michigan is a different team compared to Nebraska, and that's kind of what I was talking about when we talked about the offensive tackles. It wasn't these complex blitzes that really hurt us on offense. It was guys getting beat one-on-one. That's what's disappointing about it, and it's guys who aren't Aiden Hutchinson were beating us one-on-one up front. And so that's the thing that was a little disconcerting when I watched that, is when you saw the first 1 or 2 times that guys got into the backfield, I'm going back and I'm watching the replays and I'm looking at how did that guy get back there so fast? And I'm like, oh, he basically went straight through our offensive tackles. That's tough to watch. From a physical standpoint, that was tough to watch. That is a better team physically. That is a better team athletically than Nebraska. That's not a 3-point loss. what I saw physically was, I mean, that was a 3-score loss from what I saw. I mean, we just physically got beat. Michigan, is Michigan, it's an interesting question here, because do I look at Michigan and say, this is a really good Michigan team? No. I mean, a good Oklahoma team kind of shut them down on both sides of the ball, I thought. That same Oklahoma team had, I think, 9 sacks against Auburn yesterday. So that's a good Oklahoma defense that Michigan played in Norman. So is this a Michigan team that I'm looking at going, okay, this is a team that's going to make our playoff run? Yeah, they will. Now, I mean, they're 4-1. Their one loss is against Oklahoma, who I think is only going to continue to rise up the rankings here. Is this a Michigan team that if they can, I mean, they got a gauntlet of the schedule too. I mean, you still got to go through Ohio State. So if this is a Michigan team that could make a 12-team playoff, maybe not. They're gonna raise some eyebrows though here if they can keep winning a few more games. So, but it's the fact that this Nebraska team could get physically manhandled the way they did by Michigan, and it's still only a 3-point game. That also kind of tells me, as physically and athletically talented as that Michigan team is, they still got a lot of loose ends they got to tie up. It's not a great Michigan team. It's a very athletic Michigan team, and that's why we lost the game.
And I think it was Will Compton afterwards, and he tweeted out, I think this is just, you want to feel good about yourself. And it's not a knock. I get it, but he's like, this just proves we can play with anybody in the country. And I'm like, well, not really. Not really.
I mean, I think if they played Michigan 10 times, we're losing 8 of those 10. So,
and Michigan's not the best team in the country. Michigan, I don't think, is one of the best teams in the country. They're not in that top 10 category.
No, but I mean, if you look at the rest of Nebraska's schedule,
it's manageable. It's
manageable.
I
mean, now I look at Nebraska, and I mean, okay, we got Michigan State up next. I think that's a game Nebraska should win. All of a sudden, Maryland kind of scares me a little bit. Although maybe all of a sudden, maybe Wisconsin's not that good. You mentioned we could do a little hot seat discussion.
We're going to get into that. We're going to get into that because they were chanting "Fire Fickell" yesterday in Madtown.
But I still think Maryland's a winnable game. I think Minnesota's a winnable game. Northwestern, definitely. All of a sudden, USC looks maybe a little more human than I thought they looked at the start of the year. I mean, they snuck into the top 25. They're 4-0 right now. Super, super athletic. That's the thing that worries me there is, again, are we going to see these losses in one-on-one matchups along the line of scrimmage against a team like USC? UCLA's winnable. Penn State, not a chance.
Not a chance.
And then Iowa, I think, is a winnable game. So, I mean, Nebraska's, like I said, I'm still kind of hanging out in that 8-4 ballpark for Nebraska this year. And if they hit that, I'm going to look at them and say, okay, they're continuing to get better. We're moving in a decent direction. We're going to another bowl game. We're going to get more development, more exposure. And Nebraska's got the ability to look at things and say, okay, here's what we've got to shore up. And here's where it's got to happen and at what positions, mainly offensive line, and defensive line as well, too. So I'm not looking at the season and saying, okay, the season's over because we lost to Michigan. If they had somehow managed to win this game, all of a sudden I'm saying instantaneously, you're getting 8 wins guaranteed now. Yeah. It's still going to be a fight to have to get to 8 wins. So yeah, I don't think we're going to see the Matt Rule year 3 double-digit wins. I mean, maybe we do, and I eat those words, which I'd be ecstatic to eat those words. But I do not think this is a Nebraska team that can hang with anybody in the country. They can hang with pretty good teams. They can't hang with anybody. Because here's the other thing, too. Michigan's not well, you just said it. They're not the best team in the country. I mean,
no.
You've got a team that is super, super athletic. That was the other thing about Michigan that surprised me. That's a fast team. Their team speed is outstanding.
And you can see that on the offensive line. I mean, there were some blocks in the offensive line. I mean, you're like, damn, these guys have an extra step. Even on the line, I mean, their center was incredible, made some incredible blocks yesterday.
And their offensive line, the thing that really impressed me, and this is what showed up on those long runs, those guys, I always call it's the second level blocks. You get a double team on a down lineman, and then one of those two offensive linemen bounces up and picks up the linebacker or picks up a safety. And again, their center, their right guard as well. Those guys were getting off those down blocks right at the right time, getting up on our linebackers and getting downfield drive on linebackers and safeties, pushing guys downfield. And when you look at those long runs, that's what happened, is that you're seeing our linebackers and our safeties are getting blocked. And that's a bad sign. So their team speed's great. They do some things very well, but this is not Penn State. This is not Ohio State.
It's not Oregon.
They're not Oregon. So this is a team that Michigan is basically what I think Nebraskans and what Will Compton is kind of saying about Nebraska. Michigan's one of those teams that on a good day, they've got the athletic ability to hang with some very good teams. Doesn't mean they're going to win. And it's because it's not the defense from a couple of years ago when they won a national title. Underwood's he's a really good quarterback. That's a true freshman, though. That's a true freshman.
I was going to ask you that, too. When you look at because the quarterbacks were the big story yesterday. Of course, Underwood is highly touted. Raiola is highly touted. Who do you think was the better quarterback yesterday?
Well, I thought Raiola by far and away. I mean, easily. Where I thought Underwood, when I'm looking at him, I think he's got more athletic ability overall than Raiola, in the sense that if you need somebody to say, hey, we're going to do a design quarterback run, on that same play, Raiola's going to get you 15 or 20 yards. Underwood's taking it to the house. Now, that's not a knock against Raiola in terms of his ability to be a quarterback. No one brought Raiola to Nebraska to be a dual threat quarterback. That wasn't the point. When you looked at his high school stats, every year he was in high school, the kid threw for 2,500 to 3,000 yards and rushed for 80 to 120 yards on the season. So you're talking a guy who's averaging 15 yards rushing per game through high school. He's a passing quarterback.
Yeah.
That's what he does. That's what he was brought to Nebraska to be, was a very good passing quarterback. And he is. I mean, that Hail Mary, that was a 50-yard throw, and he put it right where it needed to be. That was a perfect pass. So he's a very good passing quarterback. Underwood, the thing that hurt him in that game, if you look at his passes, that is the most beautiful spiral I've ever seen. His accuracy is a little off. Underwood. Yeah. His accuracy is a little off. I mean, there's still some timing he's got to get down. I mean, he's 4 games into his college career as a true freshman. Yeah, your timing's not going to be perfect. It's where your ball placement's not going to be perfect. I would actually argue Raiola had a little better timing and a little bit better ball placement last year as a true freshman than Underwood does this year as a true freshman. So do I think we got the right guy? Yeah. he's not the problem. You said it when you said you were defending Raiola. Yeah, Raiola was not the problem yesterday by any means. Nebraska's offensive line was. That was the problem.
And lack of athleticism. They're good athletes, but lack of athleticism against a team that has superior athleticism.
We don't have the overall strength, power, or speed that Michigan had. But again, I think there's some positives here where we look at it and say, yeah, we did hang against them. Again, I don't want to get in an argument with Will Compton over it, but can we hang with anybody? Both you and I have said no. We can hang with an athletic team that's probably a true top 25 team in Michigan. But that's not everybody. You put Nebraska up right now up against anybody, I would say, in the top 7-8 teams in the country. We're getting beat because we don't have that overall team speed or athletic ability yet.
Yeah, we'll find out a lot more if they can hang with the upper echelon when they take on Penn State. Quick reminder, we want to thank the people who support this podcast, and they've been supporting it for a long time, including our good buddy Scotty Strunk over at Husker Hounds. 2 locations in the Omaha area, of course, the Superstore on 84th Street, and they do have a second location out at Lakeside Hills Plaza. But if you need hats, sweatshirts, long sleeve shirts, you're getting ready for, of course, the fall season coming up. It's going to start getting colder at the games. You want to bundle up a little bit. You want to decorate the house. You want something for the yard. Scott has it all. It is a sea of red, sea of black when you walk in those stores. You can get anything you want. And, of course, the customer service is second to none. He's been outfitting Husker fans for several years, over 20 years. I think we're coming up on like the 30-year mark. Might be even more than that. I got to call Scott and say, how many years have you actually been doing this? It seems like forever. But again, he's a big supporter of the podcast. We want you to support him. It's Husker Hounds, 2 locations, the one on 84th and Center, and again, another one on Lakeside Hills Plaza, or you can always purchase online at huskerhounds.com. And the Orr Law Group. Connor Orr and his team of lawyers are here for you when you need civil litigation. They specialize in just not Nebraska, but also Iowa. You got corporate law, you've got elder law, you've got estate planning, real estate law, sports law. Yes, if you want to dibble dabble in the NIL world and know how to set up those NIL payments or work with athletes, Connor and his team of lawyers can help you, because he represents athletes, entertainers, families, and businesses in NIL agreements, sports contracts, brand protection, and endorsement deals. So, again, Orr Law Group and Husker Hounds. And if your feet are sore and you want to walk around and go, God, I'm wearing a stylish pair of shoes, G-Defy shoes. Rob wears are you ready for this? Owen wore his G-Defys to work the other day. He was out in the shop, and because he's doing some prefabrication stuff, and he comes home and goes, Dad, I wore the G-Defys to work today. I go, wow. Because he's walking around. He's not on a construction site at this point. He's walking in a shop. I think his feet felt pretty good. He's like, yeah, or the G-Defys to work. So
do you know what's weird? I see more and more people. The one place where I'm seeing them, and this is kind of an interesting thing, in the hospital, I see more and more people I work with wearing them, and it's kind of a healthcare industry is a place where people are on their feet nonstop.
Yeah.
Go look and see what healthcare workers are wearing. And I'm seeing a lot of people at work wearing G-Defys now. It's like it's more and more people are switching over from a lot of other brands. If you're going to be on your feet a lot, it's hard. Boy, they're hard to beat.
So if you want a pair of G-Defy shoes, go to gdefy.com. That's gdefy.com. On checkout, use the promo code DocTalk50. You'll get a nice little rebate on an order of $100 or more. Again, that's all caps DocTalk50 at gdefy.com. So Nebraska comes off the loss. Now a bye week. You're not going to change athleticism. I mean, the stuff that we just talked about, you can't change in a week. But talk about the timing of a bye week and what can you do during this bye week just to mentally rebound from what was an emotional crowd, a lot of expectations, and then you got another Michigan team coming to town in Michigan State.
Well, I mean, you're going to do two things. One, you're going to look at what you did right, and you're going to kind of take a little bit of comfort in that. Because, again, I thought Nebraska did some things that were very good. From a play calling standpoint, I really do like the way Holgorsen called this game offensively. I like the fact that they stuck with the run game. I think they had to do that to keep Michigan honest a little bit on defense because, again, it's a really good defense they've got. So there's some good things there that you can look at. You're going to have to take a look at the offensive line, primarily the tackle spots. Are you going to maybe put Pritchett in there more? Or you just from an athletic standpoint, I think he's your best option. I don't know if you're going to see the athleticism that we saw from Michigan's defense until we hit USC and Penn State, maybe. So I think Nebraska can actually measure up okay on the offensive line against a number of these other opponents they've got coming up. But you are going to have to reevaluate those tackle positions. Do you maybe try some of these younger guys? Do you put Tyler Kanak in there? Do you put Pritchett in there? Do you try Corcoran? I mean, the guy's I don't know what, 7th-year senior now, something like that. I mean, he's played against Michigan a few times already. So I don't know. They're going to have to make some evaluations on that offensive line. And I mean, 2 or 3 weeks ago, we were talking about, okay, well, maybe these O-line questions when you're sitting here going like, okay, who do you put at tackle? Because it looks like we got 3, 4, maybe even 5 guys that could be playing the position. Well, that means we've got great depth at the position. We got multiple guys. This is the best depth we've had on the offensive line. That's what people were saying and thinking 2 or 3 weeks ago. Now we're coming back and going, oh, maybe we don't. Maybe we've got depth, but it's mediocre depth. So there's going to they got to figure out something now. And some of that can be a play design thing. Hey, when we're running pass plays, we're going to keep a running back in the backfield to get a chip on that defensive end. We're going to have to keep a tight end in to spread those defensive ends out and give the tackle a little bit more time to get into position. Get a couple of double teams out there on the edge on passing downs. They're going to have to figure out something to help those tackles out going forward, because that was a little bit of an exposure there for our offensive line. So you've got some stuff that they got to work on. You've got some places that you're going to have to improve. And it's kind of the glaring stuff. It's the obvious stuff. And so when you have obvious deficiencies, well, you go out there, you put a big red circle around and say, we got to fix this over the next 2 weeks. So that's something that they're going to have to work on here. And so that's the big one. I mean, the other one is on defense. Look at those long runs. What happened? Who was out of position? Who got pushed out of position? And what are we going to need? What are they going to have to do to be able to, again, fix that? So those are the 2 big glaring deficiencies I look at. Probably the next thing down the list is your short yardage offense. Now, this is something that I kind of feel like it's sort of plagued Nebraska over the last 5, 6, 7 years, is their ability when you've got 1, 2, 3 yards that you've got to get. We haven't been able to get that. And so that's something that these guys got to figure out. I mean, that's probably secondary to shoring up the tackle spots and figuring out some schemes to help those guys out, figuring out some of those deficiencies on defense that Michigan exposed. And then, yeah, let's see what we can't do with that short yardage offense and try and come up with something where I don't care if it's a run play, if it's a pass play, you got 3 yards for a must-have touchdown, they're going to have to figure it out. And you need to come up with a few packages that we have not yet seen to shore up that particular deficiency.
Okay, so Nebraska's going to be off next week. Rob's going to take a little hiatus too, so we're going to record probably next Monday just to let everybody know, because he's going to go see his daughter, which he should, and going to go see the wonderful Lehigh campus. But I do want to ask you this. What was your biggest surprise over this past weekend? Because I'll tell you mine. Indiana hanging 63 on Illinois. Holy shit, dude. I mean,
like, that game wasn't even close. I mean, it wasn't like it was like they hung in there, and then the dam burst. It was like play one, that game was over. So, which, I mean, I saw one of the guys from The Athletic made the comment this morning that, like, the smartest move that Indiana's ever made in college football history is hiring Curt Cignetti.
But that's going to drive. I mean, I know it's going to drive. Does that drive Husker fans nuts? Because as an Iowa fan, you sit there and watch the consistency that's been there, but you see a guy like Curt Cignetti come in, not over 3 years. From year one, he was a playoff team, and now I thought there would be a downslide. Now I'm like, well, maybe Indiana's going to be in the mix at the end of the season again.
Well, they got a hell of a quarterback, Mendoza. It was a Cal guy, I think. So picked up he kind of replaced his transfer quarterback with another transfer quarterback.
Listen to this line. He was 21 of 23, 267 yards and 5 touchdowns. 21 of 23.
Well, now here's the other question. Did Illinois get exposed? Is that maybe – I mean, all of us – I mean, everybody was like, oh, Illinois, they start off the season top 20, kind of at the bottom end of the top 25. They get a couple of wins. One of their wins looked pretty solid, and all of a sudden they're sitting at like 9th in the rankings. And I'm like, well – because I'm sitting here thinking like, God, this is basically the same Illinois team that Nebraska played last year. And Nebraska just shot themselves in the foot over and over and over again in that game last year. I mean, Nebraska handed that win to Illinois on a platter last year. I'm sitting here going like, this is a 7-6 Nebraska team, and we gave away that Illinois game.
Now,
absolutely. So I'm not sure. Yeah, I'm just not sure that Illinois team.
But 63?
Yeah,
that's 63.
No, and I'm fully buying in that Indiana, we're going to see probably overall a similar product with Indiana that we saw last year. Now, is this an Indiana team that's can beat Ohio State? No. Well, maybe, but I don't think they're that good. But I think they're way better than what people thought they were going to be. So
here's what Indiana. We're going to learn a lot about Indiana coming up. They got Iowa next week. Iowa won at Rutgers in what was like a Big 12 game to start with.
It was a shootout.
It was a shootout. Then they're at Oregon. That's going to be the big one where we really learn what Indiana's about. But then they got Michigan State at home. They get UCLA at home. They go to Maryland. Then they go to Penn State. But then they have Wisconsin and Purdue. So. At worst, they lose 3 games. At best, they go unbeaten. You know.
I mean, here's the thing. You see what Indiana did last year. If they followed that up with a 9-3 season with losses to Oregon, Penn State, and
Iowa,
and
I mean, because I don't know who else they would lose to.
Wait, you think Iowa's going to beat Indiana?
I'm not saying that. I'm just looking at the schedule. They're at Iowa, at Oregon, home against Michigan State, home against UCLA, at Maryland, at Penn State, home against Wisconsin, at Purdue. So
I think they go 10-2. I think that's a 10-2 team. Maybe if they can shock either Oregon or Penn State, which, by the way, I think Oregon looks really, really good. If they can shock one of those two, maybe 11-1. But I think if you look at Indiana last year and say, okay, he follows that up with a 10-2 season, I think people are still going to be in the whole, yeah, Cignetti's pretty freaking good coach. You cannot like him.
Yeah.
You can hate the arrogance. He'll tell you how good he is. He has no problem doing that. But unless somebody else comes along and hires him away from Indiana, I think Indiana football is going to be a player in the Big Ten going forward here as long as Cignetti's there.
A team that's not a player is Wisconsin. Got beat at home yesterday to Maryland. You had the fans. We've seen this. I remember when fans were at Lincoln were chanting "Fire Steve Peterson," "Fire Bill Callahan," and then we have yesterday it was "Fire Luke Fickell." And I said at the beginning of the year he's on the hot seat. And then you have the athletic director give the much not wanted vote of confidence. That's a career killer at that point. When the vote of confidence comes out, means your days are numbered.
Here's the thing. Do you know what his buyout is?
No.
I think it's $25 million is what I read earlier this morning.
But what do you stand to lose if you don't fire him? What do you stand to look at Clemson?
$25 million. I don't know. I mean,
Clemson is 1-3. Dabo has a $60 million buyout.
And that's
$60 million.
Yeah, that's brutal. I suppose it's all relative. I mean, a $15 million buyout. I mean, on the surface, you look at that, say it's $15 million. I mean, you're looking at Frost. I think that's what Billy Napier's buyout is at Florida is $15 million.
And they lost to Miami yesterday.
Florida will pay that. And Napier's,
yes.
They got Miami or Florida's got.
Oh, Florida's
I'd have to look. I think
brutal.
It's Texas. Yeah, the schedule. The next two games, I guarantee you, Florida will lose.
Yeah, Rob, I don't know.
So I don't. I think Napier gets fired. They're going to pay the $15 million buyout there. Can Wisconsin cough up $25 million, or do they figure just do okay? You know what? It's going to take us a decade to pay this off, but we'll do it. So I mean, Wisconsin will figure out a way to do it probably.
So you mentioned Florida. We're going down rabbit holes now. Texas coming up, then at Texas A&M, home against Mississippi State, which is
A&M's playing good football. Mississippi State's playing. They're actually playing pretty solid. They're not. It's not Ole Miss, but they're playing solid football.
Then Georgia, then at Kentucky, at Ole Miss, at Tennessee, and Florida State.
Yeah, that's a brutal schedule. They're going to. Well, here's the other thing.
They could lose out.
Yeah, they're going to lose the. They're going to lose all the in-state battles there. Florida State's looking good. Miami's looking good. You already lost to Miami. You're going to lose to Florida State. Although that's a big rivalry game. I could see Florida kind of finding some kind of weird energy to hang in there in that one. But, yeah, I think Napier's gone. You know, you asked a question earlier about when we were talking about Cignetti in Indiana and the whole should that make Nebraska fans, Wisconsin fans, Iowa, anybody, do we have the wrong guy? How do you get a Cignetti?
You don't know. It's a crapshoot.
And it is. And that's why, I look at Nebraska and I go, do we have the right guy in Rule? And I'm like,
I think
yes,
you do.
I really do. And, could you imagine Cignetti at Nebraska?
No.
At Indiana, it works because, because
they've sucked forever.
The last good football coach they had was Bill Mallory back in the late 1980s. And that was, we're talking literally 40 years ago was the last time they had a good football coach. It's a basketball school. So they're great at basketball. They got an outstanding business college. It's not a football place. So he can come in. You can take anybody, and it doesn't matter what their personality is like. Cignetti he's kind of like a cross between. Remember Bob Diaco?
Yes.
It's like it's like Bill Callahan and Bob Diaco had a love child who can actually coach football. That's Curt Cignetti.
That's picture in my mind.
And it's like two guys that personality-wise were just absolutely horrible fits at Nebraska. And just disasters from a personality fit standpoint. Curt Cignetti would be a disaster. People, even if he's winning, people would freaking like hate him.
Well,
I mean, that's
they
kind
would
of
love him and hate him at the same time. Yeah, it's a Bo Pelini thing.
It's a little bit of a Bo Pelini thing. I mean, 2/3 of Nebraska fans loved Pelini. A third of Nebraska fans freaking hated his guts. Maybe it's half and half. I don't know. But I mean, I know people still that I talk to today who are just like freaking hate Bo Pelini. And they've got good reason. And I don't have an argument against it. I remember John Gaskins.
Yeah, I saw you did his podcast. I've done his podcast up in Sioux Falls.
I did John's podcast earlier this week. It was kind of like it was a good Wednesday night get together. John does not think very highly of Bo Pelini, and we talked about that a bit. And I get it. In John's reasons, I have zero argument. The guy was horrible with media, horrible with fans, complete hothead. He would have the head coach, Pelini would have an emotional meltdown on the sideline, and you'd watch the whole team melt down with him. Gaskins, John, you're right, buddy. You are 100% right about that. The team will follow the head coach in that regard. I like Pelini though, but I mean, I got my reasons for liking him, but I don't disagree with John. Cignetti's a guy that if he was in Lincoln, there's a lot of people that would hate him, but as long as you're winning, you're going to be okay with it. He can say and do anything he wants. I mean, within reason, within legality and moral ethics, I suppose. You can say pretty much anything you want, do anything you want, as long as you're putting up. I mean, if you're averaging 10 wins a year at Indiana, you're getting a statue. It's just that's it. So now when you ask that question about Nebraska fans, Iowa fans, Wisconsin fans, anybody looking at who we've got in Lincoln right now and questioning, crap, could we have had Cignetti if we'd waited a year? And how do we how do you wrap your head around that? And I'm sitting here going like, no. And the example I'll give is Wisconsin. And the reason I say that is because after everything played out and everybody's looking at these two teams in year one, there were a lot of Nebraska fans going, "No, did we get the right guy?" Maybe, and I'm under the understanding that Trev Alberts did reach out and did interview Luke Fickell. I don't know if there was an official interview, but I mean, I think Trev did say, "Yeah, I talked to Fickell, I talked to Rule. I think we got the best guy." At the time, there was a lot of questions that maybe we should have gone with Fickell. Look what he did at Cincinnati. Great defensive mind. Maybe we really should have gone with Fickell. And now you're looking back on, oh my God, thank goodness we went with Rule and not Fickell. So and I think Luke Fickell's a good coach, but I also think he's one of these guys who would shine at maybe a program that's not in a power conference. I think he would be because keep in mind, Cincinnati was not in the, okay.
They were not in the Big 12 at that
point. That was
point.
not a Big 12 school at the time. So
that was an American Athletic Conference.
Yeah. So if you're going to, I mean, he's an AAC guy. He's a Sun Belt guy. He's he's a group of four conference kind of guy. Group of five. Whatever. I don't even know what it is now. He is a group of whatever the number is, conference kind of coach, or he's a really, really good D coordinator. I do think he's a really good D coordinator, and I think he showed that with both Tressel and Urban Meyer, that the guy can coordinate outstanding defenses. I don't think he's a Power 5 college football playoff conference head coach.
So when we look at coaches, who's the next to get the axe? Is it going to be?
I think Napier for sure.
You think it comes before Fickell?
I mean, the writing's on the wall there, because, I mean, you can look at some of the other Big Ten games that Wisconsin has and go, okay, there's a few games they might be able to pull out here and win. You look at Florida, and you even said it, that they could go 0 for the rest of the season. They really could. And again, you look at the buyouts, you're talking 15 million versus 25 million. Florida's got a guy who can probably cough up 15 million. Maybe not a guy, but they're going to find 15 or 20 donors who are going to put that buyout together and go get themselves another head coach. That'll happen far easier than figuring out the logistics of a $25 million buyout in Madison, Wisconsin. That's just, it's different. You're talking SEC money versus. I don't want to call Wisconsin a mid-tier school, but you're looking at another Midwestern land-grant state university. It's just the money's different.
So here's Wisconsin's next 4 games: at Michigan, at home against Iowa, at home against Ohio State, and at Oregon.
Well, they're going at best 1-3.
At best, I think they go over.
So, I could see the rivalry energy against Iowa kind of maybe.
I think if they lose at home to Iowa, he gets fired right after that. I think you
look at out of those 4 games. Who do they have? Who's next?
Michigan, at home against Iowa. That's the toss-up. At home against Ohio State, and then you go to Oregon. If they lose at home to Iowa, he gets fired after that game. That would be my prediction. I've been wrong before.
God, I just 25 million's a lot of money. And I think it's gonna happen. I'd love to get fired for $25 million.
So would I. It's
plus what he's already paid.
It's the only job in the world where you get a ton of money for getting fired. But this is what has to change throughout athletics now. These big buyouts, they just have to change. Schools have to protect themselves. I'm not saying you don't give a guy a severance, but $60 million for Dabo, $25 million for Luke, that's way too much money. It just is.
The problem is if you're a school that's really looking for a home run hire,
in today's landscape, where are you going to go, Rob? Where are you really going to go?
It's what's a true home run hire anymore? Unless you can pull like Nick Saban out of retirement or bring Urban Meyer back to college football as a coach, I don't know what you got out there.
And that's the thing. You look at Matt Campbell at Iowa State. He's had many opportunities to leave. He chooses to stay. Iowa State's a good job now. Iowa State's going to be vying for a college football playoff spot in the Big 12. So
the last, holy cow, that was a home run hire. Cignetti. We're talking about freaking Indiana football here and an FCS guy. That was an FCS coach.
Yes.
That they brought up.
And at the time, you don't know that. At the time, you didn't know it was going to be a home run hire. Sometimes the home run hires are the ones you least expect.
Well, and I'd have to go look up who's Texas Tech's head coach.
God, what is his name?
Both of us are sitting here going like, wait, who's the guy? Who's at A&M right now? It's like the big fat dude at A&M. I don't know.
Well, he was at Duke. He went from Duke to A&M, and Trev Alberts didn't even hire the guy.
Yeah, it's
Joey McGuire is the head coach at Texas Tech.
Who?
Exactly, Joey McGuire.
Was it his kid that Nebraska hired there for a bit as the wide receivers coach that Holgerson fired?
Yeah, so
I could be wrong on that. I'm just spitballing here, but
Mike Elko is the head coach at Texas A&M.
Okay, there we go. right now we're kind of looking at those two teams, and I'm going like, who's the more recent home run hires? It's McGuire at Texas Tech. It's Elko at A&M. And they've been there for a couple of years. So we've had kind of a couple of a year build up here to this. But right now, dude, Texas Tech is looking like a solid football team. I mean, they're playing
over
some
Utah.
Yeah, they're playing some very good football right now. I mean, teams we thought were going to be great. I mean, Clemson.
And Dabo had said that was like his best team that he's had at Clemson, and they're 1-3.
Yeah.
$60 million buyout. 60. Stupid. But they've got that slush fund. I think they can actually, believe it or not, afford to buy him out, which is crazy. Absolutely.
Yeah. And I mean, you've got a guy, he's won a couple national titles there. Yeah. I mean, he's sort of he's sort of a high-end Mike Gundy right now. I mean, Gundy's the other one. I mean, they lost to Tulsa.
Yeah, the first time since like the 1950s they lost at home to Tulsa. I don't think
that's the other one that I look at when you say who's next to go. I mean, I don't see. Yeah, Wisconsin's at best. Like I said, I've said it already. They're at best 1-3 over their next 4 games, and I agree. I mean, I think Fickell gets fired. It's just I think there's going to have to be a little bit of play around here to figure out how to work a $25 million buyout. Napier's gone.
Gundy's gone.
I don't see how they keep him after this, because again, it's not like the rest of that Big 12 schedule is getting easier.
And it's not. People are passing you by. Hell, you could make the argument that Lance Leipold has made Kansas a better job with the new stadium and everything than Oklahoma State is. Oklahoma State's going to have to do some soul searching to see where it falls in that Big 12 conference, because I don't even know if it's that desirable of a job. I know some people go, you're smoking crack, but you start looking at it now going, I don't know. Still,
they're always
used to be.
Oklahoma State's always the school that I looked at, and you always kind of wondered, why aren't they better? I mean, you're in a great location for recruiting. You're near Oklahoma City, which, I mean, Norman, Oklahoma is basically a suburb of Oklahoma City anymore. But you've got Oklahoma, you've got the state of Texas. They should be far better than what they are.
But here's a case where I actually think that Oklahoma leaving the Big 12 and leaving Oklahoma State by itself hurt Oklahoma State. You could start to make.
Do you
that
think
argument.
It just shifted a recruiting focus away from them?
Yes. Yep. 100%. But it's an interesting times we live in, and they're getting fired earlier and earlier. Of course, all the UCLA players can go in the portal now, and it happened at Virginia Tech. All those guys can get in the portal now, and because of the games they've played, you can still redshirt. So it'd be interesting to see what happens this week with UCLA and Virginia Tech, that they go, okay, well, I still got a redshirt if I want to go ahead and get out and stop playing right now. So, because there's tampering going on. There's tampering going on right now.
No one's talking to these kids.
That's funny. All right, Dr. Rob, I want you to have a good time on the East Coast this week. Don't forget, hit that subscribe button, give this video a like, and leave some comments if you like or didn't like what you had to hear today or watch today. We'll be back in the studio next week as Nebraska gets ready for Michigan State. Thank you so much for watching and listening to the Husker Doc Talk podcast. See you next week, everybody.